We're going to go on to approval of the agenda. I move that we approve the agenda as presented. Any questions or comments about this agenda? Before we approve the agenda, I want to clarify for all those that are in attendance, this is a work study, not a typical board meeting. That is why public comment is not on tonight. I know there's been some confusion as to why public comment wasn't on. We did go to a new format for our board meetings in January, which one of our meetings is typically a work study that allows us more time to be able to get information. The only approvals that we do during our work study are regular routine district business that needs to continue, typically HR type items. So public comment was not intentionally taken off tonight. It wasn't there, as tonight is a work study meeting. We do invite anyone who would like to share public comments with us to join us at our board meeting on April 25th. If there's any written documentation that you would like the board to have, you're welcome to submit that to Mrs. Reach, and she can get that to the board members. So I wanted to clarify that before we approve the agenda. Anything else? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. We'll go on to consent agenda items. I move that we approve consent agenda items 3.1 through 3.7.
Second.
Any questions or comments on consent?
President Reese,
Mrs. Kaler?
I just want to take this moment to just congratulate Higley on our school retention for teachers. I know that I get this report, and I just want to say thank you so much, not just for being here tonight, but for so many of you who signed your contracts and coming back. I heard the number was 96.5% of you are returning next year. So hats off to you.
Thank you. I do have one question on our consent agenda for Mr. Holland. It goes to the Student Activities Fund report. I know we've briefly talked about this previously. We have several schools with really high balances. And I know we are coming to the end of the year, and I know prom venues still need to be paid, and yearbook companies still need to be paid where we've collected those fees, but we haven't paid those expenses. I would like to ask you what you would expect to see those funds to be, the balances to be towards the end of the year. Sorry to put you on the spot. When I sit here and look at Williamsfield carrying $138,000, Higley carrying $120,000, Cooley carrying $31,000, Coronado carrying $29,000. That's their ending balances for March, and like I said, I know we have some expenses coming. Those are pretty large balances, though, and if we're going to continue to ask parents to help fund our extracurricular activities, I don't think, in my opinion, we should be sitting with balances like this. And if you don't have an answer, you can say you don't have an answer, and that's okay, and we can circle back around, because I know I'm putting you on the spot, but it's something that we've seen kind of consistently.
President Reese, members of the board. I will do some additional research to try to figure out what those projected ending balances will be.
Okay.
Please keep in mind, though, that the funds that these students collect, right, they do a lot of fundraising activities to raise those funds to help offset a lot of their trips, other types of expenditures.
And I get some maybe earmarked for, maybe not this year, but for next year, that they are fundraising for certain things.
Correct. And, you know, the expenditures that are selected or approved, those are the, since they're students' funds, they're the ones who decide how they want to utilize and spend those funds,
Right.
right? As the district, we only guide and advise, right, to ensure that what we're spending those funds on are allowable and appropriate, but not to tell them that you have to spend more money. You know, part of what we're trying to teach students, again, even here as a district, is to be fiscally responsible. And so if that's how they're choosing to utilize those funds, I guess I kind of struggle with trying to tell them that they need to spend down some of those balance.
No,
they
I
know-
understand what you're saying. I'm just questioning, and I know these are all the groups combined. So some groups may be in the negative, some groups may be in the positive. And I agree, we need to be fiscally responsible, but I think as clubs and student funds, because these are their student funds, we don't spend them, they do. I just want to make sure that when we're asking parents to help fund activities, we're asking appropriately, not over.
Understand. And so, but please keep in mind, the funds that we ask parents to help pay for, like participation fees, et cetera, those come out of a completely different pot of money.
Right.
These are totally student funds.
Yeah.
They are not the school's tax credit or auxiliary funds. And that's where those participation fees come into for athletics. That's where graduation fees come in, parking fees. All of that goes into those 500 accounts. They have nothing to do with these student accounts.
Right. No, I understand that. Just if we can look at it and maybe have the conversations with the schools, if we are carrying large balances, then when we are fundraising, making sure we're doing it appropriately. So,
Okay. Yes, ma'am. We'll look into it.
thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions on the consent?
President Reese?
Mrs. Kaler?
I just noticed too that a lot of these overnight and out-of-state travel are happening during the summer. So again, I just want to thank all those administrators. I know Mr. Holland's always going somewhere. And our teachers that are taking time away from their time off to participate in these events. So thank you again.
Any other questions or comments?
Madam President.
Mr. Thornock?
I just want to recognize Higley High student Olivia Smith, qualified to participate in the All-State Honor Band Festival, so representing Higley High's band, so well done.
Very nice. Anything else? No? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0.
President Reese.
Mr. Holland?
I just wanted to add one comment back to Taylor's comment. So you'll notice that we do have less script Justin itself. It is for anti-fraud conference because we are both working very diligently, to try to strengthen all the internal controls that we have here at the and at the schools, especially with a lot of cash handling and funds that are collected. So this conference is a perfect opportunity. There's going to be a week-long training, very packed agenda. So I just wanted to thank you for approving the request in this. And please know that this is the benefit that we're bringing back to the district.
I think I can speak for all of us up here. We appreciate you taking the time to go, learning more information about fraud prevention with internal controls, I think is always a good thing. So we appreciate you taking the time, and I'm sure you're going to learn lots, and bringing that back to further protect our finances.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go on to the remaining action items we have, and that would be I move that we approve the issuance of the 2018-2019 classified offers of at-will employment with a 2% increase of the base salary.
Support.
Any questions or comments regarding that item? I just want to say thank you for getting this out. This is, I think, the earliest we've had at-will contracts out, so I appreciate that. Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Is that everybody? Okay. Motion carries 5-0. 4.2, I move that we approve the issuance of the 2018-19 administrator contracts with a 2% increase of the base salary.
Second.
Questions or comments? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries 5-0. 4.3, I move that the governing board adopt the resolution for supporting educators and the Red for Ed. All right, before we go on, I will read the resolution. It is, whereas the Higley Unified School District Governing Board recognizes that the funding for schools in Arizona is $1 billion below the 2008 levels, and whereas the Higley Unified School District Governing Board is witness to the consequences of this chronic underfunding and sees the negative impact to teachers, staff, students, families, our community, and our state. And whereas the Higley Unified School District Governing Board has supported and worked for solutions to fund teacher and support professional pay raises and other educational needs, only to see the Arizona legislature fail to stop enacting tax cuts that run counter to our efforts. And whereas no one has worked harder nor waited longer for raises and restoring the money for resources for their classrooms and schools, nor sacrificed more than our teachers and support professionals. And whereas on behalf of our students and families, we cannot allow this crisis to continue without a plan to address these issues. We support our school employees as they make their demands known for the necessary funding for a meaningful teacher and support professionals pay raise and education funding. Whereas we are confident our community, including parents, families, caregivers, business leaders, teachers, support professionals, families, school district administrators, neighbors, and friends will support our educators as they participate in the Red for Ed, advocating for what they need to educate our children and secure the future of Arizona. Be it resolved that the Higley Unified School District Governing Board is in full support of our educators and stands ready to take steps necessary to improve salaries and working conditions for our school employees with additional funding from the legislature. The Higley Unified School District Governing Board urges the Arizona State Legislature to work urgently on behalf of the children and families in our state to take swift and meaningful action to develop a viable plan to pay teachers and support professionals the professional salaries they deserve. And this will be resolved on April 11th, 2018. Any questions or comments?
Madam President?
Mr. Glover.
Yeah, well, thank you for doing that and sharing that, and thanks to everybody, the Sea of Red out here. I was reflecting and remembering it was almost 10 years ago that I dug out the picture last night, that I took my son, who was about up to my belt at the time, to his very first protest for public education. He is now 6'2" and heading off to college, so I am so pleased for this movement on behalf of our students and our community. I'm glad to see all the support, and I welcome all of you to this fight. This has to carry over to the ballot box. This is where change is made in this country. And so I was a social studies teacher for many years, so that I always have to mention that. But I love seeing teachers for fighting for better working conditions. It's not just increased salaries. It's smaller class sizes. It's up-to-date materials. It's access to technology. It's clean classrooms with working facilities. So I really don't care if you're conservative or liberal or independent or moderate. Vote for people who will support what you guys have dedicated your lives to. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would just like to do a follow-up on college campuses today. It was very moving to see the staff and faculty on the college campuses all wearing this today. So this was, like I said, you might not see it in the news, but it's on all the home pages for the colleges in Arizona. So the staff and faculty at the colleges are right there with you, supporting you. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Madam President, just one more. We're gonna send this resolution to the governor? Can we do that? Yes?
Mhm.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yep. Anything else? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries 5-0. And thank you. We appreciate everything you do. All right, that concludes our action items, and we're going to go ahead into our work study items. And we're going to start with Mrs. Reese with a marketing update.
I'll let them take a minute. Oh, wait. Oh, yeah. I'll grab my water.
Sure. I have just a quick thing I'd just like to say. Madam President, this is a work study session, and part of a work study session, I just want to be aware, clarify with you that part of the work study session is not just a presentation, but we're here to have dialogue and discuss things as well as us as all board members. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Thank you.
This is our work study, gives us a chance to get information where we can ask questions. If it will be a future agenda item for us to vote on, we need to be careful on whether we're indicating if we are in favor or not. But we can certainly ask questions, get clarification, and then we can also say we want more information. So.
Well, without further ado, can you guys hear me? Okay. Good evening, Governing Board President, board members, Superintendency and Cabinet, and all of our Higley families here today. My name is Michelle Reese, and I am the district's Public Relations Officer here to present to you what we are doing to help market and communicate what's going on in our schools.
It's really hard to
Is
hear
it really
you.
hard to hear me? I can try this. I just move around a lot. All right, is that better? Again, my name is Michelle Reese, and I am the District Public Relations Coordinator here to tell you what we're doing in our department to help market and share the stories of our schools. I want to start the evening with asking you to think about a teacher who's made an impact on your life. I'm sure it didn't take long. Probably just like this, a name or a face came to you. Or if it took a second, it might be because you couldn't decide which one. For me, it could be Mrs. Edwards, who taught me how to dissect a frog in 3rd grade. Or Mr. Martin, who kept a mini trampoline in the back of his classroom for students who couldn't sit still. I spent a lot of time on that trampoline. But the one teacher that made the biggest impact on my life was Carmen Wendt, my high school journalism advisor. Carmen taught me how to tell stories, but she also taught me how to look for stories in the small corners of the world. That's what we're here to do with the public relations team. Every great love starts with a great story. Okay, so this is a Nicholas Sparks quote and probably has to do with a romance. But think about it. Every great love, a love for math, a love for science, a love for dance, for music, for literature. It all starts with a story. And in many cases, probably most, that story starts with a teacher. It could be one of these teachers. These are some of the faces of the teachers here in Higley Unified School District. And we know they have many stories to tell. They are making an impact on the lives in our classrooms every single day. And we want to tell that story. This is your public relations team. Together, we have skills in writing, photography, videography, web content placement. Each of us contributes to bringing these different tales together and distributing them to the community. Well, one thing we wanted to do this school year was find a consistent, succinct way to tell these stories, a way that has a common thread. That's what started our rebranding. Earlier this year, we combined with the new Student Services Marketing organization at Grand Canyon University. The great thing is, they took all the surveys and comments from the strategic plan we put together last spring and helped us combine to come up with a message. That message, of course, you've heard it, growing learners into leaders. Together, they also created a design guide to help us put this story together with colors, design elements, common looking materials. My team, the first thing we did was put together a video to tell this story. I hope you've seen this one, but if you don't mind, I'm going to show it again. And I may need help from the IT team.
Higley Unified School District began inspiring students in 1909. Today, the 13 campuses of Higley are the #1 choice of neighborhood families who desire a strong education for their children in the thriving communities of Queen Creek and Gilbert, Arizona. From the classroom, to the concert hall, to the sports field, Higley teachers partner with families to form the foundations today that help students shine light on their dreams, plant their paths, and grow their futures. Grow, learn, lead.
Michelle, where is that played at? Where we have that playing at?
We do have that on our district website.
Okay, are we showing it in the movie theaters or anything like that?
No, I have not purchased any advertising in movie theaters. With this concept put in place, growing into leaders, and combining that with the already put together plans of the marketing department, we started to craft our stories. This meant putting our brand placement in as many places as we could find. Currently, we're putting new signs on some of our buses. Of course, the video you saw. We're going to be producing some window clings to go around our campuses, posters, and brochures. One of the big pushes my department had this year was to help let our community know about our kindergarten. One team member, Lena, went out and spent several days with some of our schools to put together a tale, if you will, a timeline of what happens in the kindergartens. We put this on the website. We put together a new kindergarten website, one that had never existed before, just for all this information, including tours, open houses, what parents might expect if they go into one of our specialty programs. Amy helped pull this together along with a new graphic element by our college intern. And we're really excited about this one. I left a piece of paper on your desk with some of the statistics we've seen. In 2 months of that page existing, we've had more traffic than last year's kindergarten roundup page, the whole year. Of course, any good marketing plan, you have to find a way to measure it. So we're taking baby steps with this. We're going to start tracking kindergarten roundup participation in a way that we know exactly how many people are there. We measure our website traffic for the kindergarten page. We sent this website out to 50,000 people through an email list from the East Valley Tribune. And we're able to see how many people click through and what their response is.
Michelle, what type of, when we're communicating with the public, the millennium generation, they're not into Facebook, okay? And it's, I see we have website traffic and things like that. The millennials aren't doing that, okay? So how are we reaching out to them? Are we doing Snapchat, or how are we reaching out?
We do post, just about every single one of our items goes onto all of our social media feed, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
We don't have Snapchat?
No, we currently don't have Snapchat.
It's interesting, when I talk to college students, they ask what Facebook is. Okay, they're just not using it.
Well, remember, we're also trying to reach, there might be a generation gap there too, so we want to make sure we try to hit the different people.
Our millennials are going up to age 35, and they're born with technology. They're technology junkies, so it's very important that we just don't aim all our information to the website, because that's not where they're going to go.
No, what we're also working on is a kindergarten video, and I was going to get to that in a minute, so we'll make sure we get that out there as well. Grand Canyon University is helping handle some of our social media advertising, so they're trying to get that placed in exactly what you said. They're looking at the age of the families and how to target them. The next thing we wanted to do this year was to spotlight our amazing staff. We brought on a high school intern from Williamsfield, who, let me tell you, is going to be a big name photographer one time. Steven Spielberg, look out. But once we got those videos, we realized we had a lot more to do. So we created a new video hub on the Higley Unified School District webpage, where families can find videos about our middle schools, our elementary schools, the student spotlights, and our high schools. Well, my team is creating some of this content, so in fact, these were created by the high school students. I'd like to show you one of them. This is one of our spotlight videos about one of our amazing teachers.
Okay, my name's Mike Levos. I'm a PE teacher here at Higley Traditional Academy. I heard about the Higley District through a friend, Michelle Young, that worked with me at the Boys Ranch, and she told me there was an opening for a industrial arts teacher, PE teacher, and junior high coach. So I went ahead and applied, and then Mr. Likes, who was a superintendent principal at the time, hired me and then I've been here since, ever since 1988. The Higley district, when I first started here in '88, we had 175 students. We only had one school, one grade level, and since I've been here, I've noticed since 2000 we put a school up every year, and now our population is over 11,000 students. I decided to teach physical education here because in high school I played many sports and I always had a passion of the sports, and I like to coach kids, so I kind of wanted to get into the PE side of it because I had a passion to teach children and try to make them grow as much as I could in their sports. And that's kind of why I started coaching, because I wanted to get them ready for like the high school, so we worked on a lot of things. And that's kind of been my passion.
Grow, learn, lead.
Michelle, that's really wonderful, you know, and that's what's important for the community to see those stories. Now, where do I find this?
Again, we do have all of our videos on the Get to Know page on the Higley website.
So if I am a parent moving into the HTA area and I click on the home page for HTA, will I see this wonderful teacher?
I believe, Amy? It is on the teacher's
So
webpage.
he's on the landing page.
I will let my webmaster answer this one.
No, at this time he's not on the landing page since it is a video profile. It does live on the home page of the Higley District pages because the video is too large to live on just their landing page. But we can make it where we can put announcements and things like that, and it links to that video.
Because I think as a parent, when I'm looking to go to that school, we have wonderful teachers, okay? And so if I click on the home page for HDA and I see the story of, I'm going to click that story on and say, because what better recommendation can you have than by the people who work there? So those are the things that we really have to, it's important to tell the story, because the community doesn't know these stories, okay? And that's important for our community to see these wonderful things.
And we do have some options that we can explore with the website. We can see about making that happen.
I know, because when I look for businesses, we look at Yelp, and you look for reviews before you even go to stores. So I think that's important to include some of those things.
We do have some options where we can actually make, like I said, an announcement, a picture where they click it and it traffics to the other page. But when it's one click, so we can do that.
Mrs. Reese, I know that I'm a social media junkie myself, and I'm on Twitter, and I follow Higley 365. I follow everything, and I've seen all these videos. They come up in my feed all the time, Mr. Watovich. They're in Twitter. They're there, and I see them. I like them. I retweet them. So, kudos to you that you are getting them out there in that forum. Not everybody follows us on those particular websites, but I know that at least they are getting hits. I watch it.
And so I will show you some information about some of our print materials. We have, last year I brought to the board, we created an Our Schools page. So all of our information specifically about or designed for families looking at our schools, they'll find that there. They'll find the Get to Know You page. They'll find out how to enroll in our schools. They'll find, they can click on elementary, high school, middle school, preschool, and get the information they're looking for. So we do use that as a central hub. So when we do have a print material, a brochure, families we typically put the Our Schools logo website address on there, or we have some other vanity URLs that we've started to use to help us track who comes to our website. Well, if you don't mind, I'd like to share with you one more video that our team just created. This one's we presented this morning to the business partners, to Great Reception, to share with them the skills that we're teaching our students.
As Gilbert and Queen Creek, Arizona continue to collect accolades as top spots in the area for young professionals, families, and working parents, Arizona employers are discovering the benefits to hiring workers from these communities. Higley Unified School District provides educational opportunities to more than 12,000 students in the area, growing the skills of tomorrow in students today. Do you need welders? We've got that. Automotive technicians? They'll keep you moving. Scientists and laboratory technicians? We'll have them ready. Doctors or sports trainers? Filmmakers, photographers, foreign language speakers? Competitive and driven employees. You can't hold them back. Higley Unified School District is growing learners into leaders. Grow, learn, lead.
So that video literally was finished on Friday, so it's not up on the website yet. We are working on getting that up. Again, like our kindergarten push, we are looking at ways we can measure the feedback on this. Some of it, of course, is conversations like this to find out what people think about the videos and whether or not they're making an impact. Our website traffic is another way we can measure it. I've put the Get to Know website traffic at your desk. Social media views, and again, email tracking. The Get to Know website was part of an email campaign that just went out last week. So with this huge library of stories, how are we going and sharing them? In many, many different ways. First, print, story and ad placement, door hangers and brochures. Our website continues to be a high traffic area for us to put stories. We've invited the press to come to our schools as well. And then those connections through social media, paid advertising, and email campaigns. Some of the magazines that we will be in by the end of the school year, these are great publications specifically for communities in or just outside our boundaries. These get mailed to the homes of the families in Power Ranch, Agritopia, and Morrison Ranch. We've been in the Power Ranch publication for quite some time, I believe since I've been here. Agritopia and Morrison Ranch are brand new publications that just launched. Little secret, we may be the first one to advertise in Morrison Ranch. Hey, thank you. Excellent, yeah, and so that was something we had never done before. We'd never done door hangers. We'd done mailings, but cost-effective wise, we took a look at it and said, let's try this new way. Those door hangers, that vanity URL I was talking about, there's a new URL for each of them, so we're able to go back and see exactly how many people are using that URL to get to the Our Schools page. We also share our stories with local and state websites. These are a few of the headlines just from this year that they've picked up on. These are stories, for the most part, that we've written, but also some that they've gone and put out themselves. The preschool one from Expect More just came out last week. The email marketing campaign, we've had some good success with this, and so we decided to continue this year. We have 10 email campaigns purchased between January and June using the East Valley Tribune's 50,000 list that is specifically targeting families with children within the Higley boundaries or the area codes we serve, so it may reach out as well. These are a couple of the emails, and the topics have been like open enrollment, open house, kindergarten, and the Get to Know You page. We are having some great success. This is 2017 over 2018, the change in the number of likes we've had on Facebook. You can see it's almost doubled. What I'm actually excited about is the follows. That you may see is a little higher than the likes because a user can follow you, but they don't necessarily have to like you. But when they follow you, your story does appear in their algorithm more often. Even better is our reach. This has tripled over last year. In the last 28 days, when I pulled this data, compared to the last 28 days of last year, you can see how much we've grown with the reach. Now, the engagement is another important part. Those are when people are liking, commenting, or sharing our stories. And again, that's doubled. We're also having success on Twitter. This is 3 years of data. Looking at March 2018, we had 48,500 impressions on Twitter alone. We have 1,300 followers, but quite a bit more people are following us because we are a public. Our setting is public. And while I don't have Instagram analytics, they're not worked the same way, just anecdotally, my phone lights up any single time we post anything on Instagram with people liking our photographs and stories. Everything I just showed you is organic. That is content that we are putting out without paid advertising. This here is some of our paid advertising. This is created by the Grand Canyon University student marketing team. They took over this piece for us in March, and they'll continue for the rest of the school year. So they can look back on the back end and see what families or what users are connecting with it and make adjustments daily if needed on who gets to see these posts. This is our content. That's our photo, that's our video, but they're the ones, if you will, running the show on the back end to get that out to the right people. Now, we have a brand new tool, and this is our app. Our app just launched last week. All of these stories on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram will show up on the activity stream of anyone who downloads the app. That means you may go to Cooley, but you're going to see the stories from Williamsfield too. We're very excited. I'm going to share with you a video about what the app can do.
It's here, our district's official app. Enter the App Store to download your personal app today. You will have access to all the important school resources, tools, and information you need on a daily basis in one amazing mobile app. Looking for a one-stop shop for everything you want to know about? The Stream feature allows you to do just that. From your schools, choose what information you want to see, including notifications, social media news, and even calendar events. It's a continuous flowing feed, all in one place. School notifications come from many places and in many different forms. With the app, you can now receive all these notifications in one place. Get notified of changes, alerts, and other important messages from the schools you choose to follow. You can now find all the important events and activities of our district in one location. Add any listed events from the app's calendar directly into your own personal calendar on your mobile device, consolidating the dates and times you care about most. So what are you waiting for? Show your school pride and go download our new, official district mobile app.
So we started a campaign during spring break to start getting communication out about this, and we opened up the portal April 2nd. So we're still tracking how all these downloads are going, but so far it's been very receptive. We have over 1,000 already downloaded. I'm really excited about that. Yes?
I have to just comment on the calendar section.
Okay.
This app is amazing. For me as a board member, I've selected every school, which is a little daunting when you get all the notifications.
Lots of colors on your app.
Most people only have one or two, but it's just awesome because as a board member, I can pull up it if I have a night off and I don't have anything going on. I can look and say, oh, this is going on tonight. Boom, I could go over and say hi or whatever. So that we can't possibly, as a board, keep track of every event that goes on every night in this district, but that app does it for us. Like, we can just look and see, oh, there's a basketball game or whatever. It's awesome.
So the app is directly synced to our website. So what it is doing is it's pulling the calendar information from what the schools put on their calendars. Thank you.
This is really nice, the app. How are we marketing it to the non-Higley people, the non-Higley community?
since we're just getting started with the app, our focus is right now to get as many people within the community to download it. We haven't looked yet at sending it out there. So let's not forget those face-to-face connections. Each year we hold campus tours, open houses. Our principals from our high schools visit with the charter schools in the areas that don't have an affiliate high school, and we invite them to be part of our Higley community. Of course, we offer trips so our middle schools can go up to the high schools and see what they may find there. And many, many public events, service projects. The Chinese Festival held in Chandler, the Gilbert Global Village, which if you have a chance, you're not too tired after the Fine Arts Festival, you could run over there. Of course, Veterans Day, which Higley plays a huge role in helping put on the Town of Gilbert Veterans Day celebration. I'm really excited about everything that's happened. My team is already planning for next year and beyond. So what will the new frontier hold? We're taking a look at it. Those Higley profiles, the staff profiles, we're very excited to do more spotlights. Grand Canyon University is helping put together a video about a kindergarten family, talking to them specifically about why they chose Higley. And we hope to take that and make more of them for more of our schools. We'll be looking at a preschool video and doing more program videos. I know my CTE director is very anxious for us to get out and highlight what's going on there. I'm really excited about bringing on an intern next fall, specifically to talk to our alumni. He's going to go out and find out, how did Higley turn you from a learner to a leader? We'll continue with our daily posts on all of our social media outlets. Of course, I get news every day about awards in our schools, and we'll continue sharing that. And I'm sure there's more options out there, and we're going to explore those to see where our resources best fit. I am here to answer any questions.
Mrs. Reese, thank you for putting this together and everything that you've been doing. We did ask for a more robust marketing plan, and this is definitely more robust. I did want to ask about the information, getting kindergarten roundup. I think this last year we missed the bus on some of it. We need to make sure we're not just targeting our own preschools. We have a ton of preschools within our district. I want to say there's probably 8, now 2 new ones, 10, just within our district boundaries. And we need to make sure we share kindergarten roundup with them ahead of time so they can share that with their parents. If these are these parents' first child, they don't know how to register them for school. They don't get the information about kindergarten roundup. They don't know we have it. So we need to make sure we are dropping off brochures, that we are getting that information to these preschools ahead of time. So I think that we kind of missed that a little bit this year. And I have to say that from my standpoint, I missed that this year because I was like, oh, kindergarten roundups tonight. So I'm trying to communicate with my parents at last minute, so that's another opportunity we need to make sure so that we're engaging these families so that they're not going on these charter school tours and things like that. So,
and that was one of the reasons we made kindergarten one of our pushes this year. We didn't quite have our new branding designed and adopted, but we're hoping by April we'll have our new brochures out, not for every school, but kindergarten is one of the first ones. Again, like I said, we have that new kindergarten video, and we're going to be putting another email out to the community reminding them that we're still accepting kindergarten enrollment. Just to give you an idea, I did do a check. Currently, we have about 390 kids signed up for kindergarten next year. We have over 800, close to 900 this year, so we know they're going to keep coming. Totally agree. We need to get that message out, and that's why we're trying to get the message out more year-round.
Excellent job. My thing is, as you were talking, I'm thinking about to outside the box. And I know we have 1,000 people following us on Twitter, but it's kind of preaching to the choir as we follow it. It's where we have to reach out to people in the community. As we look outside the field here, we have all these houses that are being built. And I went into the model homes. I said, where should I go to school? Oh, they pointed me to another school, okay? And they did not have brochures for the Higley schools and things like that. I don't know why we're not having realtors for lunch or realtors for breakfast, and having them on all our email list, and because we have wonderful stories, these teacher stories, we should be hitting these realtors all the time with all this information, because what I'm finding is like President Reese said, we're missing this whole large group, and when we go for things to support us in the future with bonds and things, they vote. And if the only time we talk to them is when we want to vote, that's not, okay? And what I'd like us to see, and if you could look into for the future, just as a suggestion, is a community newsletter. And on that front page of the community newsletter that goes out to all of us is with Dr. Thomason, with the letter from him, and all these wonderful things about, you know, the recent student that got an award for the symphony. And we got to be the spokesperson, and we got to be at every door, because I'm always telling my neighbors all about these great things, and I should not have to be telling my neighbors about these things. So newsletter in every door, and it doesn't have to be a cost. You can have sponsors with companies, with realtors sponsoring the last page for us. So I mean, it can be really cost effective. That would be getting into that. The other thing they talk about, and I'm going back to millenniums again, because that's a huge to 35-year-olds, and we need to be aware. And I really would like us looking at Snapchat and things like that, because they aren't Facebook people. So we need to understand that. We need not to look at our world anymore. It's their world, and they're coming up in full force. So I'd like to see us take a look at the Instagram thing part as too as well. And one other thing is blogs. People, if I just go to Higley, okay, after a while I was like, oh, okay, another that. But if I hear a story, okay, and if somebody tells me something about a wonderful teacher or event that's taking place, so you're advertising your product, but you're doing it a different way. So I feel good about this, and I want to go there instead of saying, go to Higley High. Okay, so that's the thing with that next generation too as well. How we are doing things at the college level is telling nice stories to say, so you come to us. So then that's what this whole generation wants to do. One last thing is, as we have a brand out there, we need to all speak the same and walk the same. I'm going to tell you that when I go for a walk in the evening, I see our school marquees saying things for 6 weeks. I saw something for January 1st. I'm walking by the school, and it's April, it's March, and it was the same 3 messages over and over and over again. And I think of my communities going by that school every day and thinking, wow, they haven't done anything in 2 months at this school. So we're missing out, and somebody either needs to advise them, or somebody needs to get that brand out there, because you have pockets and nobody's coming together with this brand of, how wonderful things and factoids should be showing up on that screen, and public schools are great, and thank a public school teacher. I mean, just some really neat things like they do on the marquee when you drive on the freeway. They get to be really cute, so you focus on that every time you want to drive down the freeway. You look for the signs to see what new and type of things are out there. So those are just some of the things we need to pull together on some of that in reference to the signage and the school tours. We need to, when I drive around the community, I see at the charter schools, Tuesdays and Thursdays, tours. I don't see that for us. It's not like I'm not welcoming the new people into the community. I have to go to your website, find out when this is. So, I mean, if it's always out there, visit our school, visit tours. So we just need to be a little competitive on that. So these are just some of the things as you're doing your presentation. I'm just thinking as I watch, because we do have a great story.
Well,
I just need to tell
you have
everybody.
stolen a little bit of my thunder. So I
Okay,
just
sorry.
met with.
We should talk before the meeting.
That's
so I
okay.
know, okay? So-
I just met with a print company 2 weeks ago, and we are looking at a quarterly magazine that, again, like you said, is going to be funded through advertising. So again, baby steps, but he was super excited about the prospects of working with us. There's a couple different magazines out there. EVIT does one. I think Mesa Schools do one. So we're hoping we can do it better. So that is one thing. And as for those home builders, we regularly drop off brochures to them. I don't know why they didn't have any, because we literally just did a drop 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago. Yeah, and it may be they could have been a sub or the previous person didn't communicate with them. But we do try to drop off flyers regularly, and when we have the new ones, such as the ones I left on your desk, we'll be taking ththose out probably by the end of the week. You mentioned another thing that I think that. Yep. Thank you. It's a fun job. I do.
Mrs. Reese, so are we doing these for every school then?
We are starting with those, and yes, then eventually.
And you're seeing, like, kind of get feedback?
What we're doing is seeing what the feedback is with a door hanger at this point, and then we'll explore. We really wanted to get those out quickly, and with it was easier to do a door hanger that was two-sided than like get the whole brochure out. So that's what we're exploring, different options. Trust me, we're full of many ideas.
And I know, Mr. Witovich, you keep mentioning Snapchat. Snapchat disappears in about 10 seconds. Am I not correct on that? Does anybody know? I mean, I watch it, but it's very hard to manage.
They have just started to
Unless there's
introduce
a spot that
very
you can
recently, they're looking at
hold.
what they can do with that. It's still in its infancy, so it's something that I'm going to have a discussion with Grand Canyon about. I'm just not as familiar with Snapchat.
That generation doesn't want to stockpile on information. They want just little tidbits, and that's what they want. But that's the next generation. That's what they're looking for.
Mr. Glover? I was going to say, we saw some of the other videos, and some of the teachers and people who were in those videos are here, and they have been here. And every time I watch them, I learn something new. And while I knew it, I know what we offer. I know what we do. But the way it's presented in these videos is like, wow, that's really cool. I mean, it sucks me back in going, oh yeah, we do that. That's awesome. So I love the video aspect. I may be easily entertained, but the video aspect is, we've been saying we have an amazing story to tell. And I appreciate the response of hearing us saying, tell our story. And I look at this more of telling our story versus advertising, because I think our story does our advertising. And I don't know, as we're telling our stories, there's lots of teacher videos and profiles and everything, and listening to these teachers and how they got into teaching and why they're here. It tells your story and makes you want to be here. So thank you. I appreciate that. Mr. Glover.
Thank you, Madam President. Well, Ms. Reese, Ms. McKenzie, Ms. Hurtado, and Ryan, and everybody else, I'm thinking back to about a year ago when we really challenged you in your department. I think the superintendency cabinet and the board challenged to do, to just expand what we do and get better at what we do. So this is, you really have risen to the occasion, and I just wanted to thank you for all that.
Thank you. We really enjoy what we do. And I hope that shows.
Well, and I love we use Grand Canyon University and their students, so they're learning real life skills. And so we're using education for education. So I really love that we're using them and they're learning, and instead of some really high dollar marketing firm that we can't afford because we have a small budget. So thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, we will go on then to our 5.2, which is medical premium renewal rates and process. Ms. Martins?
And Madam President, can I have a 1-minute recess?
Yes.
Thanks.
Yep.
finance, yeah. I can't compete with finance, no joke. They're all confidential. No, I'll do it, so I just have to press this, right here, the arrow. Okay. And then, wonderful, thank you so much. Yeah. No problem. Nature call.
All right, we will go ahead and get started with you, Ms. Martins. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, President Reese, members of the board, my fellow Higley colleagues, as well as the Higley community. I'm sad to say that, everybody left during the most exciting part of tonight's, event. So it is our Higley Unified School District benefit renewals. My name, for those who don't know me, is Mum Martins, and I'm the Executive Director of Human Resources. I have with me this evening my colleague, Ms. Isabel Herrera, who's our benefit specialist, who will feed in as applicable throughout. So this is meant to be very brief, but give you a high level of information related to the benefits that we offer here at Higley for our employees. Based on tonight's presentation, if there's inquiry or interest in seeing more, I'm happy to provide that and look at a further or lengthier work study later. One of the primary reasons for being here tonight is because we are approaching open enrollment, and so we are letting our employees know about our renewal increases that are coming up and the different things that we have to offer. So, starting off, here at Higley, we offer medical, and medical is covered through United Healthcare. You may or may not know that this is our third year with United Healthcare. Prior to joining with them and partnering with formerly Bagnell, now Gallagher Benefit Services, GBS, we are with ASBATE in terms of a type of consortium. And so we went out on our own, and we currently are fully insured with United Healthcare. Previously in the past, the district, to my understanding, had been self-insured at different parts. We offer dental, vision, life insurance, our employee assistance plan, our flex spending account, FSA. Other supplemental is our short-term disability. We do deferred compensation plans, so 403s and 457s, an additional term life and accidental death. So something that is happening throughout the US, and I know that you guys know this probably firsthand also, is that insurance is one of the most expensive things we can do. And it's a game, we're gambling. Every year we receive our renewal rates, we're hoping and praying that they're reasonable. Trend across the US is 8%. In Arizona, it's actually a little bit higher at 9%, and that's because of the demographics of our population in the state. 3 years ago, we were seeing medical renewal increases in the double digits, 16 to 18%. So one thing that I'm excited to share this year, but somewhat, I'm going to admit, a little nervous at the same time, is that we're only seeing a 2.3% increase in our medical premiums this year for our 4 plans. So the 4 plans that we offer is our basic Navigate. We also have a high deductible plan with a health savings account. We have a mid PPO, and then we have the buy-up PPO. So based on those plans are different rates for our employees and different premiums that our employees incur. Overall, the district does pay for each one of our employees who are eligible and elect coverage just under $5,500 per employee. And that's for medical only. Other supplemental benefits that they choose to, the full premium is at their own cost. So you'll notice there some of the other things that we're seeing in terms of cost is and increases again is our dental, the PPO is at 7.5, and the HMO is at a 0% cost. Our vision with IMED is 0%. Our employee assistance program, we are seeing a slight increase in our PEPM, or per employee per month. And I'm proud to say people are using it. We pulled some data earlier today in regards to last year, and we had about 66 instances that occurred where our employees were utilizing the EAP, where it varied from financial health to marital health to their own personal medical needs, things of that nature. So that's great, because I do know one of the most underutilized types of things at most organizations is the employee assistance program, because people think there's a cost, but really the cost is separate. So they get 5 5 sessions free essentially, which is great, and then they get forwarded on to whatever they need to based on that. And typically the EAP will let them know what's covered and what's not covered under their medical plan too, so they know their responsibilities. And some areas where we have rate guarantees, because we had contracts, multi-year contracts with them, is our life, our disability, and then our flex spending account in terms of that administration fee, which goes out even further to 2021. So one of the things I do also want to mention is our loss ratio with our insurance. Out of the 4 medical plans, we see on average, because we get monthly updates from our carrier, from Gallagher Benefit Services, and we see a loss ratio of averaging per month about 77%, which is great. You may or may not know with insurance, you're looking at a 100% level, and anything below 100% is saving you money. Once you go above 100%, then that's when you start to see some concerns, and that way you want to educate your employees what's going on, finding out numbers, because that's what's going to increase your premium renewals for the following year. So I shared some of this already in terms of detailed information related to our medical plans, our experience, our renewals, and that one of the things I didn't share in detail, although we cover for every employee that elects our insurance at $5,500 approximately, those that choose employee only at Basic Navigate and the high deductible plan with the health savings account, employee only, there's no cost to them in a premium. We cover that completely. We work with insurance committee that's made up of administrators, teachers, and we're actually looking to expand some of those teacher representations this next year. We've already talked to our Higley Education Association about that, as well as classified employees. And we talk about, what do we offer, what do we do, what are we doing to educate, what are we talking in terms of wellness plans, initiatives, where do we go? And next year, particularly, things that I'd like to do, as I'm new to Higley, as you guys know, I've arrived here in August. I'd like to see what else we can do to maybe help drive those premium costs down and or offer some, what I consider, and I own these words, better benefits, if that's possible. You may or may not know, there are other consortiums that are coming about and that are growing. I'd like to explore them, see what they have to offer, because as more belly buttons, more lives, we have better buying power, pardon me. As well as maybe other benefits that we could look to do. We did have a trust, not the trust, but a trust that we had here with Higley that got dissolved a few years back. So I want to explore the reserves that were there. Can we utilize those dollars for other things and offer some other benefits in regards to potential educational reimbursement or stipends in relation to certificates or degrees earned? So there's lots of things that I had done in my past organization that I'd like to see whether or not they're fiscally reasonable to do here at Higley. So we're going to do a lot of educating this next year, and so then we can get our insurance committee members up to date, and then be more involved about the process overall. So, questions? Or Isabel, anything you think I should add?
What we have done this year as far as incentives to have employees come out and participate in our wellness program. We did have a biometric and flu shot screening in October. We did have the mom bus come out in February. We do monthly quizzes to help educate employees about health wellness, financial wellness. We do have a Simply Engaged program through United Healthcare. And then we also have our first annual health and wellness benefit fair that's scheduled for next Tuesday the 17th from 47 at Higley High School.
I think you're reading my notes over here. I was just going to ask you. So, that's. I just want to tell you, you've taken us to the next level, okay? And your professionalism in HR, thank you, okay? And I see the things you're thinking about taking us, and it's wonderful for the wellness programs. I was on Team Butterball here, okay? And it was just really fun to watch the names of the teams that they had for it. But when you do things like that and through the wellness, it's building a real positive culture here in the community and in the schools, because I saw the different teams and the competition and things like that. And it's about healthy living. It's not about my insurance policies. It's creating a healthy environment for us. So I'm really pleased to see that there's things on stress release and all these fun things, and I know you're going to do some great things in the future. So, but
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you for what you're doing.
There's endless possibilities, and we look forward to educating our staff.
Good. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you. This is a lot of really good information. I know you mentioned the trust that, not the trust, but the trust. And the board had approved for those funds to help offset these increases. So I would be excited to see how those could be used. I know we knew the increases were coming and we wanted to offset the insurance premium increase as much as we could for as long as we could. So I'm glad to see that they're not in double digits anymore right now, especially in Arizona, because we have some of the highest insurance premiums in the country. So, so yes, I appreciate looking at different alternatives and trying to find the best options for us. And I'm going to say the most cost effective. I'm not going to say the cheapest. I'm going to say the most cost effective, because just because it's the cheapest doesn't mean it's good for us. So thank you for
Absolutely.
looking into that and doing research to make sure they are the right plans for us.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Just to follow up on Madam President's comments, just the value that you're providing, and a 2.3% increase is awesome. So well done.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you to Isabel and the benefits team too, Ms. Rhea Wilderman and Heather Marquise, who couldn't be here tonight. So thank you.
I think that we should let United Healthcare know how many pounds Higley lost.
That's a good question. I don't know if you know the answer to that, Isabel.
2,300 pounds of fat.
Do you want a team? What team were you on?
Whoa.
I'm not saying.
Okay.
I didn't help the team.
I confess to butterballs here. Okay.
The lean queens. Oh, yeah, but I'm not lean.
I personally didn't want to drive those numbers down, so I stayed off of that, nailed the scale. So thank you.
Yeah, just one more thing. So thank you for all of that. I just had a couple of things. With everything that's happened this past weekend, I think this probably got lost, but I don't know if anybody else is interested. I don't know what our employees actually pay for the different plans. Is that something you could send to me? And if you guys
Absolutely.
want it, I mean, you could send it to everybody.
Yeah,
but
we
I
have
don't
our
a good-
rates
I mean, I
right
know
here,
it's-
so I'll give them to Darlene, and so
Okay.
that she can add them to something to hand out to you guys.
Thank you. And the next thing, when I was a younger teacher, somebody told me to start a 403B and just put like $25 into it or something, $50.
Absolutely.
And I did, and every time I got a raise, I put a little bit more in, and it is a big number now. And my wife did the same. And if we have new young teachers, I know that there's financial reps, but when they put that information, make sure we get that in their packet. If anybody could just start little, it becomes when you get as old as I am, it gets to be a really big number, and it's one of the smartest things they could do. And even if we figured out a way that we could maybe take their first $50 and just start an account or something for them, anything to really get them saving. It's a big thing. I'll let you comment.
I'll let Isabel comment on this too, but we are doing a financial wellness as part of that wellness plan. And so one of our financial wellness presentations that happened probably about a couple months ago now, unfortunately wasn't very well attended, but we did talk about the deferred compensation plans. And like you, Mr. Glover, I did the same. I was watching Oprah one day, and in my first job out of graduate school, I opened up that 403B, and like you, $20 early on increased as my career grew and developed, and it's a big number now. And trying to get other people to understand and hear that story, that it might seem like you don't have enough to put just a little bit aside, but it can be a very small amount that could grow larger, and it's pre-taxed. So we're trying to get that communication, that education out, absolutely. And I'm gonna let Isabel comment on it too.
I am a huge advocate for 403Bs, 450 Roths, whatever we can do to help offset our ASRS pension, hopefully when we retire. We are working with teachers' pensions to go out to each school site. They already do that. They host lunches at the school sites, but I'm trying to organize per school, per site to have them come out. They met with us individually and with our HR department, and 3 of us walked away opening up an account. So that is something strong I believe in educating, because it's just the lack of knowledge not being there.
So yeah, and when anytime we get a new teacher, I know anyway, so thank you for that. And then the last thing I had was, and I don't expect you to know this answer, but if you could, I'm just curious if you could get it for me. Do we have an idea of what percentage of our employees are using that high deductible. And the reason I ask is debt is such a gamble. It really is a dangerous gamble, and I wish we lived in a country where we didn't have to gamble with our own health insurance, but that's the world we're in right now. But if you have an idea of that percentage.
I actually do not have a percentage, but I have actual numbers. So for our high deductible health plan currently, as of March 19th, we have 484. And our base Navigate 5000 plan, we have 33. The buy-up choice, we have 50. And the mid-choice PPO 500, we have 265 employees. That does not include dependents. Those are just employees.
And the numbers don't include who's elected to waive insurance if they were in a position that was benefit eligible. So, and you could probably see when you hear the numbers from Isabel with our 4 plans, and given the nature of what you might even assume a basic plan is versus a high PPO plan, a buy-up, there's some offsetting, obviously, that occurs as a result, too. People choose the plan that they need in the moment, which they should, and it's warranted, but it does, what I call it smoothing. There's a smoothing effect that occurs as a result.
We also did recently just send out an open enrollment benefits IQ test, and it was related to open enrollment with about 12, 15 questions. If you'd like, we can forward you that so you could take the quiz and see how you guys rank yourselves. It was very interesting so far. We've only had 2 people that were able to get 100% of the answers correct. So it's, again, about more education.
I would love to see that. So, like, I would
Absolutely.
actually love to see that. So if it gets sent over to us.
We will.
Thank
Mr.
you very
Glover, I
much.
hear you on those high deductible plans. My husband works for an actual insurance company. I won't say which one. And that is what the only option they have for their employees is the high deductible plan. And
Unfortunately,
I have to
nationwide.
say, the high deductible plan we offer here for ours is better than an insurance company offers to their own employees. I'm just saying.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the trend for most insurance companies. That's the only plan that they offer. Yeah. I mean, coming from Illinois, we have what I describe as more richer benefits at lower cost, but still, like places like Gallagher Benefit Services and other high-level companies, they know what it costs to insure their employees, so they only offer the one, and they can. Thank you again.
Thank you. All right, we're going to go on to 5.3, our strategic plan update. Dr. Schillingberg, this one's yours.
President Reese, members of the board, I'm excited to be able to present to you the hard work of 2 district committees that worked all year on 2 of our strategic goals. Oh, sorry. I'm not good at microphones, but I'll bend down and try to make sure you hear what I'm saying. Anyway, these are 2 of our strategic plan goals that I believe are 2 that can really make a huge impact on this district. I'm very excited about them. I think you guys will be too. It was an enjoyable work. We learned a lot. It was, again, a lot of time, but I think what we have come up with is very positive. This is a little different than things I've done in the past when we've created plans, because we didn't really put together goals. What we really did was research and talk about where we are and where we'd like to be, and looking to the board for some conversation and direction, because we're at a place where we've kind of maxed out, and where we go next will be depend on what kind of support we can get and what level you want us to go seek. So that's where we are. So the first thing I want to do is recognize our committee. The Educational Experience Committee members met to deal with the strategic goal 1.5. We provide exceptional opportunities for innovation and acceleration, and also to help us define our vision statement. Our vision statement is an innovative learning environment with students positively impacting our world. But the reality is innovation has a lot of definitions, and we thought it was really important that we came together, had a serious discussion about what do we think innovation should look like in Higley. So we met, and through, again, committee meetings, I shared with, and again, I gave you guys a written report. I'm just going to share highlights on the PowerPoint to kind of lead the discussion. But I shared research with the committee first on different definitions of innovation. Then we had a lot of discussions in our group. What I decided to do then was to send out this information to all of our principals and ask them to share this with their staff and for them to come back to us with what they would define innovation as, trying to get a broader perspective of where our definition should fall. So we did that. We summarized what they shared, and then the committee looked that over and came up with this final definition that we would believe would define the learning environment for Higley when we define innovation. So an innovative learning environment encourages collaboration and risk-taking to produce new and unique ways of thinking by utilizing state-of-the-art technology and varied resources. So there's a lot in that. So before I go on, I'd like your feedback, comments. Do you feel comfortable with this? Because once we've finalized our definition, that will really guide a lot of what we do, from my department at least, to help support the schools to create this environment, to promote innovation.
I appreciate you looking to define innovative. I know that there's been, I don't want to say necessarily decisions, but some decisions or suggestions made, and kind of like, wow, what are you doing? And the response is, well, our strategic plan says we want to be innovative. So I believe this is innovative. And so I think that coming together with a good, solid definition helps, because I'm like, okay, I can see that, instead of going, okay, wait. So I appreciate you actually looking to define that, because you're right, there's many different opinions, ideas, definitions of what that could look like. So I think it's a good definition for our district. That's my thought.
In reference to with the technology and the environment, I'm always looking outside the box, and I see it when you mentioned at the beginning of the statement, I asked within Higley for their interpretation of their plan to come up with this. And you know, this world for our students is not Higley. And I think the vision, when we came up with the plan for the Higley community, where did we look for that vision? Was it just amongst us in the family, or we have looked through the country to see what's taking place to create this statement?
Yeah, we shared definitions from several different resources nationally in research. I also, as you're aware, went to the innovation conference in San Francisco, and I shared a lot of that. I'm actually reading 5 books right now to, it's the geek in me, but yeah, to help me be a little better at understanding really how you support and encourage this. It's fascinating again because there are so many definitions, and the idea of creativity and innovation are tied closer together, and creativity is something I've really done a lot of research on. So it is a very exciting area, but to your question, Mr. Wojtowicz, it was a very broad look at what innovation is across the country, and we looked at lots of different resources, and that's what we shared with the schools for them to share, to come up with their highlights and key points.
Well, you're one to hear from all of us. So the definition is fine. I have some other comments, though, that at the end that I would like to share with everybody. But for where we are right now, this is a good definition.
Okay, thank you.
I agree.
For me, so unique the definition of unique is, you know, like singular in the universe. So that might just be a little bold to say we want our students to think like no one else has ever thought before in the universe. So just something to consider, that maybe that's haggling over vocabulary, but that's what you asked for. And I feel like varied resources is a little vague. Like that doesn't really mean much. It's like saying stuff. It's a fancy way of saying stuff, I think.
And you know, I guess the committee's reason for putting that there is there's so much out there, and because it changes so constantly,
Sure.
we didn't want it to be just technology. We wanted it to say there are other things we want to use to be innovative with, not just technology. And because we didn't want to limit what that was, we made it vague, because in 2 years it'll be something totally different.
Right. Well, and that's what I was kind of focusing on state-of-the-art technology and somehow wanting it to be, well, more forward-thinking than that. Like, what's the next step in state-of-the-art? But again, I mean, it's haggling over definition. But like you brought up, it's a guiding principle, and I feel like the spirit is there, like more forward-thinking, advancing the goal.
Right. All right, and this will tie, and I put these together with the technology plan purposely because innovation and technology are so closely tied together. So we will use this definition for the district as what will support and help our schools develop at sites so we have an innovative learning environment. The next part of the Educational Experiences Committee was to look at acceleration in the district. And we actually, through lots of conversations, felt we are doing a really great job with acceleration. I share with the board the pathways, the high school pathways, and the model for acceleration in our district. So the discussion really came to what else could we add that we don't have that would enhance our offerings, help us be cutting edge, and then possibly provide some acceleration opportunities within that. So that's where they came up with the idea of adding a K-12 computer science program. And it's interesting because I had no idea there was actually K-12 computer science standards. And I share this with you in the packet, that they've already been created. Across the country, there are a handful of districts who are looking to create a computer science program K-12. No one actually has it totally in place, I've found. I don't think anyone in Arizona is doing it. So I think for us to take this, because what this does for us is it helps us integrate the things we're doing, little bits here and there, the coding, the robotics, the computer science classes, and make it into a unified K-12 model that gives all of our students opportunities and leads to something really exciting, and varied options. And again, lots of work still has to be done. If the board agrees and supports this, we will work on how we put this together and roll it out, because there will be cost associated with it. But there's going to take time to put this in place and figure out exactly what that will mean. But I thought that was really an exciting new area, and I think, again, it fits well into what we're hoping to do. Now, instead of having a conversation, and we can talk about this now if you like, but because this kind of ties into our tech plan, and I thought if I go through the tech plan at the very end, we can kind of talk a little more about this because it kind of fits into what we're looking to do for the technology. So the next thing was our tech plan, and we had a technology committee, again, that gave generously of their time, and it was an interesting challenge because, again, trying to not be limited by the resources we have, but to think big and out of the box so that we could really take the district to the next level and to other places was exciting. And again, this is part of the strategic plan, goal 4.5. The process. So again, the committee met all year, and we wanted some background data, so we did a survey of the students, staff, and parents. That gave us some basic baseline information and our committee experience with what is happening. And we looked at our vision, and this comes from, again, a lot of our conversations. We want our technology to support our curriculum. We want to be an innovative district, and we'd like to become nationally recognized for our programs and schools. So with that in mind, what we're looking at now is what is the state of the district and where would we like us to be? So, again, I'm going to share these things with you. If you have questions, please ask, but Chuck is back there. Yep, right there, thank you. Some of this, I have no idea what it means, but I could put it together in a nice report, but I can't really explain the details to it, but
Can I ask a question?
certainly.
Concerning the survey, I took that survey. It was rough. As a parent, what kind of feedback did you really get from that survey? Because so many of the questions were like, do you think this is happening? I don't sit in the classroom. So the questions that the parents were asked, I couldn't even answer them, to be honest. So did you, what was that survey benefit? Like,
what we did was kind of summarize from the three groups what the key points were, of what they highlighted were strengths, weaknesses, areas to look at, and then we put those down. That's what kind of then led us to where we think we'd like to go, plus the experience of the committee. So, you don't, especially from parents, you don't get a big return rate when you do surveys, but it was something I didn't want to not have something more current, so people would say, you didn't even reach out and ask me. So we did. We reached out and asked people, and those who had an interest, we got that, but we realized it's limited in its scope, but it was still a starting point. And again, what we did was try to triangulate the data between the students, parents, and teachers to see what were the real issues among all groups so that we could focus on those. So right now in our district, we have 8,500 computers for 13 schools, 2 preschools, and a district office. We have a technology staff of 19, and you see there are different levels, administration and administrative assistant. The goal, because the issue we have with our tech staff is that we get them, we train them, and then they leave for better pay. Now, we realize it's going to be harder to compete with when they go to colleges or universities, if they go to businesses. But if we can at least make sure we're competitive with other school districts so we don't lose them to other school districts, that would be positive. So our recommendation there is that we do a wage analysis with the surrounding districts so we make sure that our tech staff salaries are competitive. And if they are not, that we increase them so they are. Because we don't want to lose people constantly because it's so much time and energy to train and then lose them. It's really hard on the staff. We also have not filled our secondary instructional coach online coordinator position. We had the online coordinator position my first year. We started to do some things. She left for another position. We did not fill it. Right now, we only have the blended freshman class online. We are so far behind in online programming, and there's so much we could do, not to be necessarily innovative, but to catch up and be competitive. But there are innovative ways we can do it, like we're doing with the blend. That's not something I've seen other people do.
Have we posted that job? Is that job posted?
It is not posted.
So our secondary program has no instructional leadership?
Has no instructional leadership, and we have no online coordinator. We do want to fill it. We're just struggling with the budget and how we fill all the positions. And what this does is it allows every teacher, every principal to have immediate access to all the data that we have on every student at the touch of the finger.
Perhaps we might want another presentation on that.
We could do that. And this time we'll bring a salesperson.
I'm just saying the data warehouse, when it was discussed before, was just the cost, what we were being presented was really not a huge interest to the board. So, I mean, that's why I asked, is it the same one, or is there something different that may be more appealing?
And that's why I put this has already been approved in the strategic plan. I know you guys didn't want to move forward because of the presentation, but this was what your committee came up with as what they felt was going to drive student achievement. And this was a really important goal because, again, if we want to be data-driven, we have to have access to the data. And right now, our teachers and principals don't have that immediate access.
Well, and I believe the board had also asked for information from our teachers on how useful, how they would use it, would they use it? Because that was also a huge concern is, yes, we can have all this data, and if our teachers aren't going to use it, if it's not going to drive the results that we want, if it's not going to be used as intended, then is it worth spending the money on?
I think our teachers do use our data. Our principals use it. They do data meetings a lot. The problem is they have to wait so long to get this information back from the district that they can't use it as quickly as they should be able to use it to make more immediate decisions. That's what this lead to, but we can definitely have another presentation.
Well, and like I said, if I recall correctly, we want to know the presentation done to the teachers to let them know what this is, to find out will they use it, how much work it will create for them, how will they use it. So no one had really talked to the teachers about the data warehouse when we talked about it before.
I could just say that in every district I've been in, and I've been in some really top districts, we've always had a data warehouse that managed all our data so that it wasn't one person in central office having to get the information for the teachers or students. And it was used a lot and made a big difference because I think teachers, when they are able to grab that information quickly, make it in any kind of form they feel they need to make decisions on instruction in small groups, all those things are vital, but they don't have access to the information. They have to wait for the principals to ask for it, and then, you know, it's...
But can you be more specific? So you're saying in like ATI, or what are we talking about? Because they should be able to get their data out of there without waiting for somebody else to run a report. So what are you saying?
Well, it's all of our data. It's the AZ Merit data, the ATI, all that stuff that we can put together so the teachers can see everything we have on a student combined to make decisions on more than just one data point.
Oh, I got you, but AZ Merit is only once a year, so that should be ready at the beginning of the year. That shouldn't be overwhelming. But ATI, they should be able to get that data, right?
They can't, they don't have access to, part of the issue I think comes because the next year the kids are in different classes. So it has to be reorganized for the teacher's new class and put together so that the teacher has that information on the students within the class. And that has to be something that Dr. Kurikos puts together.
Yeah, but that's for the beginning of the year. But once they start and the kids are in the class and take an ATI test, they shouldn't have to wait for her, right?
They still do, and I don't understand those fine points to be able to explain that in detail, but it is, you know, but I think the biggest thing that it does for us, again, is it brings everything together on a child that we have and maintains it longitudinally so that we can see how they're performing overall in lots of different areas.
Those were just part of the discussions from that presentation.
We'll have another one. Canvas. So I put Canvas here. When I first came, we had Canvas at the high school. They were charging us an exorbitant amount. I got them to cut it in half. We tried it. So both high schools had access for everybody. We didn't have a lot of people using it. So we decided to do 1,000 license, give 500 each high school, let them decide who was using it. It was $20 a student. They have now come back to us and have cut that rate down to less than $10. So our goal is that we would have Canvas access 7 through 12 and for all of our teachers because we'd also like to do PD for our teachers on Canvas.
Who would be training our teachers?
We're going to train them with the new coaches we're going to hire.
Tell me you're going to bring Canvas. You can tell me all these wonderful things, but I want to know who's going to train the teachers.
All this comes together in this nice big package at the end. So we hope to have our online coordinator, secondary coach. Our big vision, even when I get there, is we'd like to have, for computer science, we'd like to have coaches at each school. to help work with our teachers.
So presently, we don't have anybody trained in Canvas that is the trainer for our teachers? Who's training the teachers right now in Canvas?
Right now, our only tech coach is training them.
Do they have certification?
Well,
Have they been trained in Canvas?
I don't think there's a certification for it, but
So are they, I mean, have they gone to, somebody has taught them, or is this on-the-job training?
I think she's gotten training somehow. But
Thank you. So we have nobody in our district with formal training that's going to teach our teachers Canvas.
well,
Yes or
Let-
no?
there is no formal training from the company. Let me tell you, as a college professor, I use Canvas to teach.
But,
And I
okay,
went
and
to
we have
the
Canvas
workshop.
We have Canvas at the college, and we have a training division where our teachers go to. It's the training lab.
Yes.
Where our teachers are trained by certified people in training.
And
Okay,
I went-
So you can have it at a college, yes, but those people are trained.
But what I want
So-
you to want to say though is I went to the training from the college, and that really didn't teach me much of anything. So you can have someone who knows how to use it
Well,
and
you
not
know,
be very good
I
at it.
see at college level, they have a Center for Technology Learning, and it's the cutting edge, and that's where our professors are learning all the bells and whistles that are taking place, and I see the teachers, instructors going there. So, and they're, you know, utilizing this Canvas left and right, and for us not to have even somebody that has gone to some training or a conference, and then we want so much money for this license. I mean, it's, as I'm seeing as we're going through this presentation this evening, I'm looking for a gatekeeper here. I'm looking for somebody that's overseeing these issues that are taking place at Higley, and it's like, who's watching our equipment? Who's watching, you know, that what's taking place? Because right now, I'm seeing the strategic plan, but we haven't even the foundation yet. I mean, we even something as simple as the Wi-Fi. you know.
Well, what you're kind of missing is, remember I told you, I'm not giving you goals. I'm giving you where we are and where we'd like to be, because we have a long way to go. And these are the things we'd like to get there, and part of that includes having a secondary coach who can train, an online coordinator. All those are part of this whole big picture that we don't have. We haven't had the dollars. I'd love to have it, and I agree, we need it.
I understand this is the goal for the future, but where we're at right this second, you know, the students, as we go on tours in the school and all these, we're not servicing them properly, just even at this level. So if we're looking at goals and where we need to be, we haven't even come from any place yet. And that's just my concern. And it's just,
Well, we are where we are, so I'm trying to be very honest. That I'm not happy with where we are either, but this is where we are. But we certainly have ideas of where we'd like to be. And I think we're on the same place. Just how we get there is the question. Okay, so the last thing there is there are multiple online digital resources we could look at. I listed a few in the report. What we do or don't use, I think that needs to be another committee of people to look at, because we don't just want to throw resources in there, but I just wanted people to be aware that there are lots of resources that we could subscribe to that could support our teachers and other things. Professional development, that again, it's limited. We have one district coach and one media specialist for each elementary school. Currently, it's offered by request. Our goal would be to add an additional secondary tech coach, online coordinator. Our great goal would be to have a tech coach at each school, and we'd really like to develop online options for personalized PD for our staff. That would really take us to the next level.
Question on that.
Oh?
I'm going to go off Mr. Witovich. So for the tech coach at each school, what does that look like? What are you envisioning?
Our vision,
Mr. Witovich, what's the job description?
Our vision is to have someone at each school who actually helps the teachers integrate technology into their program, supports the teachers with our K-12 computer science model.
So different, obviously, than different from our media specialists.
Yes, our media
Okay.
specialists are teaching the computer standards. The computer, our
So could computer
coaches-
science not cover that?
It does cover it, so it'd be part of it. Again, we have lots of little things that the K-12
I'm
computer
just trying to
science
see the
would
big picture
pull
here.
it all together. What we have, again, we have someone teaching the standards. We don't have any support for the teachers to really use the technology. So we'd like to have, in our vision of being great, would be to have that person in each building who could support the teachers in using technology. And
So would we have a computer science teacher as well?
no, we see the tech coach as that component for computer science support.
Okay. So it's not a computer science curriculum.
You have to remember, I
I'm
have
trying.
done nothing to look at this except to take the idea of K-12 computer science, see that it's out there,
Okay.
looked at those standards. I haven't, because if you don't support it, it'd be a waste of my time.
Right.
So I really, there's so much more we have to do to get there, but we believe if we have these pieces in place, it will help us to get there.
Okay. No, I'm just trying to see the end result. What are you envisioning that look like? And because when, and I mean, it could be time to get there, and we have a lot of work to do.
Yes.
But that's why I'm looking at, I see the computer science as a type of class curriculum integrated within the classrooms, or however that's going to go, and then trying to see how the media specialists kind of play in here, and then a tech coach. So for the meantime, your goal of a tech coach would be helping our teachers, and that's different than our, well, I guess we only have one elementary. So would we not have a district-wide? Would we have a district-wide tech online coach, and then they
We
would
would.
have, from
We
there,
would.
there would be additional coaches
Correct.
at
We
each school?
We'd have the district elementary, secondary coach, online coordinator. They would lead the elementary, or the coaches at the schools, along with working with the media specialists. Because one thing we talked about is I don't want to decide what you do. I don't know. We haven't gotten that far. I think the media specialists and the instructional technology coaches would work together.
Okay.
And they would decide, we'd have to work out what one does and one doesn't. They may share some things because they have certain skills that they can share.
Well, yeah, that's why I'm saying
Yeah.
I'm looking at trying to see the end result here. And is it that we need a tech coach, or is it that we need to train and get our media specialists in that place of a tech coach?
I don't think our media specialists have the time to do the coach part of it. They have a lot of responsibilities with the tech standards and, managing the media centers. But I didn't want to limit what they could do.
Sure.
So if we could bring both in, I think together they could be a really strong team to help that school move forward with a K-12 computer science vision and helping our teachers integrate technology, supporting, making sure the technology's where it should be, all those things that we, need help with, working even with our tech person. So there'd be a team more at the schools to help move this along and support it, because right now we just don't have the support.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, then the last one, the visionary innovative learning environment. This again falls under kind of the K-12 computer science idea. First, we talked about with the district probably having to build a new elementary school in 2 to 3 years. We would love to see that built as a school of innovation and from the ground up. We think that could be amazing and a great thing to add to the north side of the district. It could be a great, attractive part of our offerings. Again, not even started it, it's just thoughts and things we've seen, but we would like to recommend that we look at that when we get to that point. We believe we should have maker spaces at every school. so that every child has the opportunity to explore and create. Under the K-12 computer science program, you would really emphasize personalized learning, which again is not new, but it's not really being done well or in a lot of places. AI, artificial intelligence, code that learns, virtual reality, augmented reality, drones, avatars, nanotechnology, cybersecurity, universal translators. These are all things that I found in the literature that are out there happening, but I'm sure there's more. But I just want to list some of the things that were possibilities we could look to add and develop as part of this vision and model. It changes so quickly. We have to be ready to change with it. There are costs associated with it, but I have to say, I think you know I meet once a month with student council presidents from the district, and we talk about issues, and I get their feedback. It's a wonderful group. We had a conversation about our tech plan and this vision, and when I shared this, I've never seen them light up like that. I mean, they were just so excited about the thought of doing these kind of things in school. Really excited them. And we think that that's part of what innovation can do for an entire district, is really bring out passion and excitement for learning and engagement. And the tech, again, is a big, strong part of what helps that happen. The last thing there, we would like to see tech integration in more content areas such as art and music. There's a lot of things happening with art and music technology that we haven't even begun to touch. So, what I'm sharing with you here is, this is, again, estimates. It's hard to get a concrete figure, but I wanted to give you an idea of if we were to do a minimum, which is kind of where we are. It's our $2.5 million with our refresh cycle, plus making sure we have competitive salaries. That would really be no change. If we were to move to good, we would raise that to $3.5 million. We'd have a $1.5 million one-time cost for the maker spaces and the secondary coach research and the data warehouse, plus the competitive salaries, any additional tech staff, and student devices, depending on what we ended up bringing to the district. Great. We would look at $4.4 million, $3 million in one-time cost. What's added there is the K-12 coaches, and yeah, the other things are carried over. Plus, yeah. Oh, and the $2 million to upgrade to the Xerox radios connectors. The other one had $450,000 to double our capacity. The last one makes us top of the line capacity.
Dr. Schellenberg, or maybe Mr. Kelly, there in the good versus the great, one of the lines in hardware says $500 per student for MS Surface, and in great it says $1,000 per student MS Surface. That's got to be a typo in the goods, right? Or are you talking about a cheaper model?
It's a cheaper model.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so we could look at middle of the line or top of the line. So I'll just move to this one because I think the places we can go. But really what we need to ask the board is, we do not have the dollars to go much beyond where we are. The only way we're going to move ahead in this area is if we do a capital override for technology. And the max we can get for capital override is about $6.6 million. So we could come close to supporting the grade, depending on what we're using for our student devices and how the bring your own technology works. But even in a bigger picture, we have to look at, in a couple years, we have to go back out for the M&O override renewal. We also then have to go out for a bond for the middle schools. So this has to be part of a bigger picture than just this picture. But what we're looking for from the board is, what level of support do you believe we should go for? And that's the plans we will start working on.
when I look at the minimum, and if that's what we're doing now, we're not doing it. Okay, so if you're asking me to go to good or great, we haven't even got it together on the minimum, and that's what we're supposed to be doing right now. And I'm back to the canvas again and all these different things, and I'm just concerned that even under the minimum, you don't have the secondary coach. So there was no intentions of bringing this person on till whenever, unless we approve good. Our secondary is never going to have a secondary person. Is that what the plan is? Because why isn't the secondary person? We should be looking for that person right this minute, and it should be under our minimum plan that's listed here.
Well, I guess, in my opinion, our minimum plan should be the good plan.
But we haven't even gotten the minimum plan in place yet. We don't, as it takes me back again to the gatekeeper who's watching our equipment, who's training our people. All these things need to be in place. If I'm going to ask for more money and take us to the next level, I need to know that we can do things. And like, we don't have Wi-Fi, you know, with the testing the other days, we haven't gotten it together just with this. And then if somebody wants additional resources, we haven't organized even the foundation yet here.
Well, I'm just trying to show you where we are. The minimum is where we are now, and it's not working. And I think we agree. I would not recommend we do the minimum because this is where we are now. So I certainly agree with you. I'm just trying to give you, if we did nothing, this is where we stay. This is the minimum. If we want to be better, this is what we could do to be better. It will help. We'll have the online coordinator, the coach. We'll add the makerspace. We'll add some of those things that are going to bring some of the innovative ideas to our schools. If we want to be great, we're going to add the person at each school. We're going to add the top of the line connectors for our schools to have that connection.
But I guess what I'm just asking for is organization. I'm not asking for minimum good or great. I'm just asking to be organized, no matter where we're at. Minimum, we should be organized here, okay? Even if it's a little chaotic, we should at least have some things in place. So the teachers, the Wi-Fi issue, all these things, we should be having somebody address these things for us. So if this is where we need to be, let's go good, let's go great. Yeah, I'm all for this. I want the best in everything, but we need to organize this before we go to this greatness plan here that we have in place. I just, nobody's training our campus. Nobody's doing this. Nobody's watching my equipment. We don't have Wi-Fi. The AC merit test. I mean, the students talked to us when we went on a tour the other day. They don't have the Wi-Fi access. I watched a teacher in a math classroom, an AP teacher, use her own equipment. What was the program we were watching her do, the math? And that was her own phone. So I'm thinking to myself, wow, if the other teachers in that building want to do this, but they don't have the certain Wi-Fi or phone usage on their phone, then our students are losing out. So that's what I'm comfortable with, that even with minimum, there's nobody organizing anything in this district for us. And that's money, whatever we can talk about. It's just an organizational plan that needs to be in place with this.
I think part of it is we just don't have the personnel at this point to manage those things you're talking about. We have the warehouse working on some things. We have the tech department working on some things. We have curriculum working on some things. You know,
if we don't have the personnel, we should see an organizational plan to justify for that, to say, okay, if we have this, the person working on the Wi-Fi, the person that does this, it needs, no matter what money you need or whatever, somebody needs to show us the organizational chart to address these issues for us.
Yeah, so Chuck, I don't know if you have anything to share, because
the Wi-Fi issues at Higley High are being addressed. Unfortunately, we were dealing with the vendor that installed it. We have just learned yesterday that we've been listening to the wrong person. The vendor's trying to sell us more access points. We reached out to the manufacturer of the access points that are installed yesterday morning, and they said, you've already got enough access points, you need to turn them down. So while we may need more access points in some buildings, particularly in the buildings 400 and 500, their belief is the walls there are so thin that the APs are stepping on each other right now. And I've got my senior systems network engineer working with their top engineers at Ruckus to resolve this issue. We're really hoping it's going to be resolved tomorrow morning. But Wi-Fi throughout the district is greatly improved in the last 3 months.
And as far as managing the technology, do you feel you have the staff to manage these devices? And
With the addition of the 3 staff that I got this year, we are right on par. If we add another 1,000 computers, then we'll have to take another look at that. But
one of my concerns that I have with this is same kind of Mr. Witovich. I feel like we just jumped. We just, from a lot of the things that are not happening, we don't even have, like you say, the processes aren't in place, things aren't done. I'm concerned about keep adopting new curriculums too that are very say it for me. Thank you. Based, and they're not going to be utilized to that ability because we don't have the ability.
well, that's
True?
why I've come to you first with the technology, because before I present the math adoption, we have to get this ready or we're wasting
I've already
a lot of
heard
money.
our math adoption that's sitting out there is very based on technology being spot on.
Yep.
And so I feel like we need to do some basic implementation of other things before we start going great. That's just kind of where I'm at right now. I just started looking at this on Monday, so I'm still processing a lot of it myself. But I know that Mr. Glover has.
Well, and just let me add, when it comes to the curriculum, the one thing I'm working with the secondary schools with is we need to have a laptop card for each of our ELA teachers and each of our math teachers. That's workable with the Wi-Fi so they can access the technology from our curriculum. So I've been talking with Chuck. I'm looking at using some of our curriculum dollars, because we're going to hold off a year for science, to purchase more laptops so we have that access. And then I'm depending on Chuck to make sure the wireless access work. That I think will help us with the curriculum component. But we have to do something with these access points because, like I said, that's above and beyond my understanding. I just want them to work. So I have to depend on Chuck and his team to make that happen, and this is what he tells me we need to make that happen.
All right, Madam President. So I have a bunch of comments because I've been reading this and anyway, so I'm going to share them. I hope they're constructive. I think that, as is typical of me, probably a lot of people won't agree, but it'll give us some things to chew on and think about. So I've read the plan a few times, trying to make sense of it. I think if I were on the committee, I'd probably get a little more, and I know people put a lot of time and effort into it, so I've been really struggling with how to say what I'm about to say. It just seems like a bunch of really disconnected thoughts, and I'm sorry to say it that way, to be so blunt. I don't mean any disrespect for anybody that did all of this work, but we have a giant leap between things here, and I think we all know that Higley is behind on a lot of levels with regard to educational technology. It's nobody's fault. I mean, over time, many of us are new here, and then things happen in the past, but I would like to see a stronger plan that's maybe more based in being realistically getting things working soon. I like shooting for the stars too, but it's just to even wrap my brain around some of the things. It just seems like it's too far. There's some good things in the plan and what I can support. Definitely the urgency of getting really fully robust Wi-Fi everywhere, and supporting, I think, pay raises. I probably don't need to see a study. I know that your staff is underpaid for what we're asking them to do. Increased training for classified techs. Sometimes I think you'll probably find that raises are warranted, but sometimes you can pay for certifications or other things like this, so that people will have a loyalty and stay. And if that's not being done, then maybe we can look at some of those things. What I can't support is the data warehouse. At this point, I would rather spend the money on getting devices in kids' hands. A massive investment in maker spaces, that seems like it's down the road. I think you could start small, seek donations. Donors Choose just had somebody, a Bitcoin operation, just fill every wish, like $29 million for every educational wish in the whole country. So you can do things like that. I mean, you have to find out at a school for makerspaces that you have somebody that has some expertise and desire, because I've seen them go to schools because they thought they should do that, and nobody, I mean, I've seen 3D printers collect dust because there was nobody at a school that had any desire to do that. So they're not, makerspaces aren't really necessarily a one-size-fits-all. But I would hate to spend a ton of money on some of the things that were in here if, you know, we weren't sure they were going to be used. And then, you know, you got to find time in the schedule. So we do this all the time. We add things, but what is being taken out of their day? And I think some thought should be put into that if you're going to expect people to go into a makerspace every day. And then there's a whole scheduling thing, like makerspaces are messy. So is it kindergarten does it all for 1 week? Anyway, that's down the road, I suppose. But I probably would not support the idea of a $1,000 laptop for students. And I really think we should stop expecting to bring your own device. I don't think that is a good model. You know, the streams are probably good, but I'm not sure they're as integrated with the curriculum right now as they could be. And so I know, you know, when I ask teachers about, other than language arts and media specialists, how they're using some of the streams and the labs, a lot of it still revolves around word processing. And you know, they could just be answering me quickly, but that's what I'm hearing. We've got to do more. I think we all know that. But moving to more streams for one-to-one, if you start at the middle schools, that can really be transformative. I would argue for Chromebooks, but these things are going to save teachers time, and that is a gift that is worth everything. But it will engage kids in new ways and connect them and be more collaborative, I think, is some of the words that I like that you used. I wish maybe this committee had talked to maybe some of the other districts. I could have come talk to them about some of the things we've done. You know, next door as this plan was developed, and I read the other day, and I don't have the source, so this, like 59% of personal devices last year purchased by schools were Chromebooks. And that's a big number, and that's a change from Apple, and so it's probably worth having a conversation about Chromebooks. I know it's a different environment, but kids use Google. It's not that hard. A Chromebook for $200 could last 6 years if you buy a nice rugged one. You know, they're very low maintenance. Tech people really don't have to touch them too very often at all. They update themselves for the most part. You know, I looked at the tech committee, and the names on there, I was concerned that there were no members of the middle school on there. And so here you have one-to-one middle schools with soon-to-be obsolete devices, and none of them are on the technology committee. And while I like the bridges, they had 5.5 members. Our high schools had 2.5 members, and that seems like a bit of a miss.
Well, you got to realize the committees, we look for volunteers, is not paid position, and
Well,
we try to get everybody involved, but
No, I get that.
I can only accept the people who choose to do
No,
it.
but we should pay them for their time if we're going to expect a good quality product.
I would
we should
think,
pay them
I
for
would
their
love
time
that to
somehow.
happen, but at this point, we don't do that.
You know, you can use all the features of the stream the same way you can as Google, so I'm not, you know, I like Google. It's easy, it's free, and it's great. But the tools, what I'm not seeing in the plan really is collaboration in the curriculum areas. I didn't see Dr. Mallerwine or Ms. Richards, our curriculum folks, on either of those committees. And, you know, so then, you know, is it technology for technology's sake because everybody loves technology, or should it be being used to drive better instruction and learning? And I really think we should focus more on that. So any plan I would vote for to move forward would have to capture that. You know, I really didn't see any mention in both of these with science and social studies and math and ELA as often as I would have liked in there. The best districts that I know of combine curriculum and technology, and they're married. And the reality is in most school districts, they're very, very separate. And there has to be a blend there. So I know that we have some immediate needs, Wi-Fi everywhere, enough to support personal devices and one-to-one everywhere. We should really have that as our goal. That's where every dollar we can squeeze out of E-rate, I think should go to that first above all. That needs to function, it needs to work. So I think it would be better if you started thinking about this technology override plan and put it together for that. And that committee, I don't know if they looked at what was proposed in the last override and what was actually delivered. I think that would be a good starting point, but I didn't see any reference to that. I mean, it's long ago, but
Yeah, we did
but
look at
to
that.
know that this is where we were going then, things changed so much, and that might help them, you know, everyone on the committee have a better understanding of that. As for the software, you know, a lot of this is you can get for free on Google. There are so many apps and extensions that do so many amazing things. So I would say let people start there, start noodling around there. If it's the Microsoft Store, there's free apps on there too, but I'm not sure how many free apps we're using. You know, it's important to pilot things too. You know, let these schools know. I would be curious how used Canvas really is. It could just be a few very boisterous teachers sometimes. Is it everybody? Do we expect it of everybody? You know, I don't know. It's too much detail probably for this, but I would be curious, Valerie. Maybe you could share with me later about that. So I would say just, you know, no disrespect to the group, but they might want to revisit and get some real things done, but plan with an eye on an override, because this can't. $4 million out of, you know, when we're paying high insurance costs and everything else, that boy, oh boy, it's hard to think about. And the same thing with a data warehouse. You know, $300-something thousand for that versus putting Chromebooks in the hands of kids or streams, whatever you like. So I'll wrap up here soon. Give me 1 sec. So I do support the review for the classified tech staff for sure. I would support some more teachers on assignment. I don't know that you can start with one at a school. I think you gotta build there. Increased investment in PD training. I think we do have money in PD. So, and then if there was any money left, I really think you probably should start piloting the one-to-one at the middle schools, because they're going to be hurting once those iPads go away. And you know, anyway. So thank you for humoring me. But I really did agonize and struggle about that. But I do think about these things.
Yeah, I know, and I see where you're coming from. Like I said, I think the curriculum adoptions are helping us with the integration part of it as we move through them. The issue I think the committee saw was like we aren't where we need to be to even think about some of these things. So if we don't somehow improve the infrastructure, improve what we have hardware, improve the support, we can't really do a lot of these things we're envisioning doing. So we kind of left it there, because if we're not going to get that support, all those other things would not have someone to do it. So.
And you said it, that concerns me, kind of where we're at, and even doing good is going to take us a while.
Yeah.
It's not immediate. So I think that there's some things we might want to revisit, especially with Mrs. Kaler's comments and what I've also heard from a technology standpoint, and not to run a different board vote into our conversation, but not only the math curriculum that we have out here that is looking for adoption, but our future adoptions. If we can't technologically support that right now, that's a huge concern, to then add something to a system that already can't support what we do have now. So just throwing that out there. The other thing is, on our good, you have secondary online coach or coordinator at 80,000, and then a research analyst at 80,000. So you would be looking for an additional research analyst, or is that an either or?
We don't have one right now, so.
Okay,
we'd
but
look
I
to
thought
fill that
I thought
position.
that's where our online coordinator funds went, because we felt we needed.
Right, what I did was, our department had 2 positions, a secondary coach and an online coordinator. I combined those 2 so I could free up the dollars to add that research analyst. We just haven't done it.
Okay, so when you said that you had combined those 2, it's not that we hired somebody for it.
Right.
It
Yeah.
was trying to
Trying to find the dollars
make space for that.
to support it.
Okay. And as far as Mr. Glover's comments, I don't know, I didn't write it down, but now that he mentioned it, that company that attended our business partners breakfast this morning said they're having this open house because they want to help with maker spaces. I don't know if you heard him.
I didn't.
Yes, they're doing lunch because they want to help get maker spaces into schools. So that may be a place to start. And they were here this morning for our breakfast. And they said they're giving free lunch. I don't know, it's one day.
I don't think their equipment will be free, but a free lunch.
Hey, I didn't, yeah. But it's worth talking to that if they're helping partner with schools. And I guess my other concern, and just as we're talking in this work study, is I think Mr. Ratovich has said it, Mr. Glover said it. We've approved a lot in this past year from a technology standpoint. And as I sit here and look at this and I hear more and more of what's actually happening, I become more concerned. Because based on what we've approved, in my opinion, based on what we've approved and what my thoughts and my expectations and I guess what I've led to believe is what I'm hearing is what I thought we were. And the money that we have focused and approved for technology improvements that we have done, to hear where we are is very concerning. So that's why I was asking about the streams. I remember there was a huge push for that. And it wasn't sold to us that they were very basic, is where I guess I'm going with that. That was not my understanding of these streams. So, and now to hear, well, yeah, the streams are okay, but they're very basic, is not the same idea that I had when, as a board member, approving that. So, and I have to trust you guys. I'm not technology at all. I don't have iPhone. I make my phone calls, get my emails, and text message. I mean, I did download the Higley app, and I'm figuring that out, but I do not. So, I have to trust what you're coming to us with and our needs and our immediate needs. And with improvements is what we need and what we want. So I guess for me, I'm kind of right now, just in my head going, wait, now I have concerns.
Well, I think what we tried to do is be very honest with where we are and show you where we'd like to be. And we could be somewhere in between there, but I think if we don't at least get the wireless access and the hardware for people to use, we're doing a disservice to our students and our teachers.
No, and I agree, but I think just based on Mrs. Kaler's comments, Mr. Glover's comments, Mr. Ratovich, kind of where I'm at, and I'm not leaving Mr. Thornock out, but he wasn't here when we did the other stuff, so he wasn't part of that conversation, but that hearing the internet stuff, the Wi-Fi stuff that we've just done is only barely adequate. So I hear what you're saying is, it is what it is. We are where we are. And I think that right now for me, I need something in between. And I need an immediate, and I need a long term. And that's just for me. I mean, I can't speak for anyone else. I think for me to process more of, wow, where we are, I think right now at this point, I need to know what our immediate needs are. Like our immediate, not being able to get on for AZ merit, and I know you guys are working on that, that we have other infrastructure that we have issues with, that I need to kind of wrap my head around going, how do we even handle what we have now? Which we've already just, I think, discussed and realized we're not great, that's for sure.
But I do think it's better. I mean, I believe the elementaries, the wireless access is all
I heard
working now.
Centennial had issues today with AZ Merit.
I did not.
Okay.
And see, again, this is out of my bandwagon, so I have to depend on others too. But from what I'm getting, our elementaries have sufficient bandwidth. I finished in January, February.
Okay.
The middle schools already have it because they have the iPads, so that's there. It's really just our high schools that we have to look at correcting, and I think they're finding some of what they were told wasn't correct. Now they're working to change some of that. Because I think immediately, we have to have the wireless access working across the district for the curriculum adoptions. And we have to have the hardware for the students to access it in the school.
Yeah. And I know you're looking for direction, and again, I can't speak for anyone else, and I think for me, I need it kind of broken down. And I hear you, I don't want you to have to spend a whole lot of time on this computer science to figure out what it is if it's not even something we're considering. So I guess for me, right now, I need to know, what is our immediate need? And I'm not even saying like this minimum. In your opinion, I know, good, great. What is our immediate need based on the conversation we've had here tonight?
Yeah,
Is our immediate need that we need the 8 access points? I don't know. Is our immediate need clearly a secondary coach? Like, what is our immediate need? And then from there, we'd like, step it, I guess, for me, is because the other thing I need to know is where this money would come from.
Right. Well, and that's part of our issue is we don't really have the dollars to support any more than even the $2.5 million we're now taking out of the M&O.
But we have an immediate need.
Right.
And so I need to know what that immediate need is. And I need to know the dollars for that. And then, like I said, step it, because like you said, we used all of our technology money. And so we clearly can't go out for any type of override. We're not prepared for this year.
Right.
So even looking future-wise, this isn't going to happen anytime soon. So kind of stepping it like, okay, this is our immediate, then what is the, like Mr. Glover said, what is the plan? The plan would be to go to this, and if we can then get an override to go to this, and that's, so I guess for me, that, before I could give direction, I want to reach for the stars too. I like that great column, but if I don't have the dollars to support it, when do we get there?
Yeah.
Madam President, in reference to, this evening there's been a lot of, I read through the packet before, but listening to the conversation with the other board members and the questions to be asked, I kind of like some time to digest all this information that we've received this evening, and an opportunity for their committee to respond to some of these questions, and perhaps we can adjourn this till next month or whatever time they need, so they can take a look at some of the questions we've asked, some of the concerns we've asked, and come back with some ideas of what we're talking about here today. I think we could do that, Madam
I think we could
President.
do it's definitely like a stepping stone of what we must do now, what we could do later if we got an override. Because there are some things we have to have right now. I can certainly list those, and I'll work with Gary to see if we have any dollars at all to help support that now. But I think I can do that.
But I guess the other thing is if the board approved those positions, then that should have been within our budget. So if we approved those positions and it was in our budget, why do we not have the money for it? Where did it go?
Well, we just didn't fill them, so Gary, if we approve these positions and we don't fill them, what happens to those dollars? I'm assuming somebody else took it for something else.
I'm just trying to wonder, I mean, I'm just saying, if the board had approved these positions and they were budgeted for, because we approved them, why don't we have the money to fill them?
President Reese, members of the board, I'll have to plead the fifth at the moment. When were these positions approved?
Well, these positions, at least the tech coordinators, would have been approved for the 17-18 school year, because that's when we brought on the blended class and.
Right. We had the online coordinator last year. We just didn't fill that position for this year. The secondary coach, I don't believe we had the position, but it was never filled. We couldn't find somebody. So I don't know. And my assumption is that with all the other positions people are asking for, there's a limited amount of funds, so we pulled what we had and filled the positions that were most immediate and people that pushed the hardest. And with everything we're doing, these were the ones we kind of held off. So I don't think that it's that someone was just like hiding the money somewhere. It's just the limited funds are there. We filled the positions that were most immediate need.
Next, when we do a follow-up, that would be interesting, because we did in the budget for secondary on technology, and like what happened to that. Now we don't have the money. Now that's in the next, so I mean, I think those questions, if you could answer that for us when they bring this together, that would be appreciated.
Okay. That's what we can do.
Dr. Schellenberg, if I may, I just wanted to weigh in, so I have my voice heard, Madam President. I support Mr. Wojtowicz's proposal that we have this kind of reevaluated. I think it might be beneficial for the committee to just ignore the great column and just throw that in the trash and come back and really dig into the good column. Just from my own personal rule of thumb, anytime there's a technology estimate, like $1.5 million one-time cost, I double that in my mind. It's going to be $3 million, and the product is going to be half as good as it's promised. And so that's just any proposal, and it's not specific. It's not meant as an insult to anyone here. That's just kind of
depressing.
As a rule of thumb. And I think Mr. Glover's talked about increasing wages for the staff. I think that's a key component. I think we'd all support that. But let's dig into that a little bit more, just to get more granularity on it. But thank you, and to the committee for the initial push and the research, and let's just get some more information on it next time.
Yes, and I think it was really to start a conversation. I mean, again, it was a challenging thing to do when we didn't have the resources to do it, but we thought if we got where we are, shared some vision for where we'd like to be, the conversation could help at least move us along. So I think from here, what you're looking for is kind of a stepping stone of what we feel we must have immediately, and then what we'd like to add as we get resources added.
And I believe so, and thank you. This is exactly what a work study is for us to have conversation back and forth. And this is why I'm thankful. I'm sure anyone sitting here is not, but because it's 9 o'clock. But you had more than 30 minutes or an hour to present this, where we could sit here and kind of ask questions and listen to our other board members, which we don't get the opportunity in our board meetings really to be able to have this kind of dialogue. So I am thankful for changing our format to have these conversations. And
I appreciate the feedback. I believe it's all very good, and it gives me at least a direction to go back and take some next steps, because it's, again, it's kind of a messy thing that we're starting with, but we're going to get it refined. It'll be, I think it's exciting. I think some of the things we can accomplish here could really change this district for even better.
I agree.
So,
Thank you.
all right.
And everything to the committee for their thoughts and time. Yes.
I will. Thank you.
I guess this makes up for like our 30-minute board meetings. So, and we knew it would. All right. Well, with the end of that presentation, I move that we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries 5-0. Board members need to make sure you stay for calendars.